There we go. We talked about creating tight sketches, and then once we have those drawn, and tight sketches are really, really clean, as clean as you can get designs, and then your final design is when you take a photo of these, pull it into your program, and draw over the top. Some of you do have access to Illustrator, so you're able to just design these over the top, or whatever process you want to use. But we should all be at this point where you are, you have your top 5 to 10 designs done. And if you don't, if you're still like working on them a little bit, that's totally fine. But what I'm going to do today is I'm going to go on and explain the very last part of this project, because we've been doing it in chunks together. So the last part of this project is the presentation of your work. So if you go into graphic design as a profession, you're never going to just give your logos to your client and not present it in a professional way. It's really important that when you get into the private sector or the real world where you are working for a company, you do have to present information and designs in a very clear and concise manner, especially when you have clients who are using your work to make a decision. So I have an example of what a brand guide is. And typically brand guides are very in-depth, multiple pages, but for the purposes of this class, it's just 1 page. So let me go on to the next slide and present. So here is an example. And this is what we typically do when we're in class and we can actually work together on computers. So here's a brand guide that a student did a couple years ago. And they didn't have, at the time, I didn't make them do a main logo at the very, very top and then the sub logos below. But for you guys, I will, and I'll show you an example of that soon. So at the top, you have a really clean setup of your logos, and then you have your color palette, and I'll explain that in a sec. And then you have your brand inspiration. Typically, when we're in class, I have you choose fonts that would go along with your logo, because most of the time logos go on websites or business cards, and that includes font and using text as well. But because we're not in class, I'm not going to require that you do this part, like make patterns and make typefaces to include on the brand guide. So you can just like cut that out and don't worry about this part. But I am going to have you include a main logo that you choose, and then your sub logos are going to be your other logos that you've created, but they're not like the main logo that represents you. I just want to have the extra ones because sometimes people use alternate logos or sub logos for just a business card, or you know how with Nike, the main logo for Nike is the word Nike and then the little swoosh underneath it. Well, sometimes they just use the little swoosh for business cards, or for, you know, like on clothing, the swoosh is there, but they don't need to put the word Nike. So this would be considered a sub logo. So that's why I had you all do 5 to 10 main logos, because you're going to choose one to be the one that goes at the very top of your brand guide, and all of the other ones go below it. So that is the top part here. The other thing that I didn't talk about a lot was the color palette. So the color palette is just colors that you feel go well with your brand. And you can choose those today. My best recommendation is to go on to Pinterest and look for what we call color schemes. And I'll go through that with you. And that will help you choose colors that you think would go well with your logo. If you've already chosen colors, that's great. You can put them down here. But this is kind of what I'm looking for. You have your main logos up here, you have some kind of separation between the logos and your color palette. And you can set up your color palette however you want. You can do rectangles, you can do triangles, you can do circles like this. It's totally up to you, but I do want to see all of the colors that you want to use in your design. Some of you may only have 3 colors. Some of you might have 2. It's totally fine. If you only have 2, then make 2 rectangles here that have the colors. But I'm looking for a color palette right here. You might notice that there are numbers underneath each one of these colors. Those are called hex codes. Don't worry about those. Typically in this class, what we do is we create or find hex codes, and these are the exact codes for that exact color. Because if you're sending your design to be reproduced on a billboard or on a poster, and you send it to a print house, they need to know what is the exact color that you want printed. And so these hex codes are like the computer code for that exact color. You don't need to worry about that. Just put the shapes in here with the colors that you're going to use. So let me take a look at the chat really quick. How do you center an object in Illustrator? Oh, Jason, I will show you that near the end of class. I can open up Illustrator on my computer and show you. Where do we find this page? So this is, it should be, let me stop sharing. Really quickly, I'm going to put the link to this PowerPoint in the calendar for today. I usually have it in the calendar every day, but maybe I don't have it for today. Oh, no, I don't. Let me update the calendar with this because I normally put the link to presentation. Link to presentation. Here we go. Okay, so if you refresh your calendar, I have the link to the presentation right there for you. If we know what they are, should we put them in for the hex code? Yeah, you totally can. You're in actual Illustrator, Jason. Yes, I will show you how to do that in the actual Illustrator program at the end of class. Let me just open it really quick. Jane, I will get to you in just a sec. I'm about to share what program I want you to use to make the brand guide. Good question. Okay, so let me share my screen again. Here we go. And I'll present this. Okay, so the last part of the brand guide that I'm expecting to see is brand inspiration. It's this bottom part. And you can find photos online that kind of represent the vibe or the mood of your brand. And you did a lot of this with part 1. Remember when I made you do that Google document with screenshots of inspiration? Those can actually be used and you can put them here. Or you could just go online and find more photos that go with the overall aesthetic or vibe of your brand. But I do want to see 4 or 5 down here. And ideally they would be set up like this, very clean, all the same size. So it looks just nice and neat. But these 3 parts are what I'm looking for. Your brand inspiration, your color palette, and then your logos. And I just want them arranged really neatly. You could honestly do this on a Google Doc if you wanted to. You could do it on Google Slides. But what I'm about to show you is how to do it in Canva. And you do not have to cite the photos for this particular assignment. Typically when you do make a brand guide, I will ask for you to do that, but this is more of an exercise, just so you can see what the design process is. So for other projects, yes, I will have you do that. Thank you for asking. So I'm gonna stop sharing because I think my computer is slowing down because I have a ton of programs on or open. I have InDesign open for DamnMag, and then I have Illustrator open, and my computer is freaking out. So let me just quit that. Okay. So let me share my screen with you. So if you're wanting to use Canva to make this, what you can do is you can log into Canva, make a free account. You should have done this at the very beginning of the class, the school year. And what you can do is you can type into the search bar right here, mood board, because typically this is kind of a mood board more than anything else. And you could use one of these. So say you wanted to redesign it here, or you wanted to use one of these or this. As long as it has all the content that I ask for, I honestly don't mind how you have it set up. It's totally up to you, but these are all really great, I guess, places to start. So this would be a good one. Of course, you'd want to add more pictures to it or make it a little bit bigger. So say I chose this one and I wanted to make that into my brand guide. I would actually resize it a little bit, and you should be able to go in, or right here, and click resize. And I don't want it to be perfectly square. I want it to be more like portrait. So I'm going to make, I think this is the height, 4,000, and then hit resize. Okay, so this is a little bit bigger, which is what I wanted. And I'm just gonna move all of this stuff up here. And then if you want to add more stuff down here, you can go over to the left-hand side and add text or elements. So if you want to add circles or whatever, or images, you can upload your files here and then drag them onto your mood board. But that is how I would use Canva. And of course, you can rearrange everything to be the way that you want it. If you want to change these colors, just click on one of them, and there's this little box that pops up, and you could try and find the color as close as possible to your brand colors, and it changes it right there.
Miss Yos, we can't see it.
Oh no! Am I not sharing the screen?
No, we just can't see the tab. We just see self-logo brand guide. So we see like the published page on Canvas.
Oh no, okay. I wonder why it's doing that. Let me stop share and share screen again. Okay, do you see it now?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Let me do that again. Thank you for letting me go back. Okay, so I'm gonna go home. And okay, so the search bar here in Canva is what I went to. So you type in mood board, and then you search through, and you can choose any one of these, but I would recommend resizing them just to fit what you want to do. So this would be a good one, but obviously you need more pictures on here for your multiple logos. This is a good one too. I'm gonna actually click on that one. So if you only use black and white for your color palette, then I would just have 2 rectangles or 2 circles representing your color palette. For example, this one doesn't have a color palette on it, so I'm gonna have to add some shapes to it. And I can go over here to elements, and I'm gonna grab a circle and make it smaller and place it, I don't know, wherever you want to place it. And then I'm going to add another circle, make it smaller. And then what I would do is I would click on that and make that black. And then if you have white, you might have to put a color on there that's a little bit of an off-white so it shows up on the screen like that. Or place it on a dark background. That's totally up to you. And then when you get to a point where you're like, oh, I really need to resize this, how you would do that is you would go up here in the left corner and click resize. And then I would say I want to double the height of this. So I'm going to do 2000 pixels and hit resize. And then you can just grab everything and move it up or move it down depending on how you want to order this. And then say up here is where you want to put your main logos. You go to uploads, and that's where you would upload your logo files. Because you are drawing all of your logos on one page, what I would recommend is possibly exporting them and just putting the logo files as one right here. If they aren't organized on your page, then you could export your logos and just take a screenshot of each of them. So I don't know, let me show you an example. I'm just gonna download this. And I'll answer your questions in just a sec. Okay. So say this is, these are my logos. I can go in and I can do a screenshot and just click and drag over them. And you can do that in your Chromebooks too, once you export your—
We can't see it again.
Oh, dang it. Well, I don't know why it does that. Poop. Okay, so pretend these are my logos. You can zoom in on them and take a screenshot of them individually on your Chromebook and then upload them so that you can arrange them in the order that you want here. Does that make sense? Kind of. Otherwise, what you can do is just export all of your designs as a PNG. If you're wanting to use Canva, they have to be exported as a PNG or a JPEG. And then you can upload them here and then drag it over. But that's how I would set it up if I were using Canva. And then you can rearrange everything the way that you want. But Canva is pretty user-friendly, so this should be like it's fairly straightforward. And it's nice that they give you these templates to use, but I don't care how it looks as long as it has all of those elements on it and it's pretty like organized. Okay, so let me look at the chat really quick. So in the example, there were pictures of the logos at the top, but at the bottom, there were other pictures. Do we do those, and what are they? So that's a good question. Essentially, the bottom photos were photos that are inspiration for your brand. So what I would say is use some of the photos that you put on your first inspiration Google Doc. So remember how I had you make a list of all the words that represent you and then inspirational photos. You can use those, or you can just go online and find more photos that would fit the overall aesthetic or vibe of your brand and put them there. Because photos kind of evoke emotion, and you want to have photos in your brand guide so that whoever's viewing it can kind of understand the vibe or the feeling that you're trying to create with your design. And it could be as simple as finding photos that just have the same color palette as the color palette that you use. It doesn't have to be overly complex when it comes to the photos that you use. Do you want us to label the colors? You do not have to label the colors, no. If you want to, go ahead, but I'm not requiring that for this. And then we're uploading our computer-made logos to this. Yes, you are. So if you're using Canva, just make sure that your logo files are PNG or JPEG, and you go over here to the left-hand side and you're going to upload them there. And then you can drag them kind of like this. They'll show up similar to this. And then you just drag it over and place it where you want, and just order them the way that you would like them. Okay, any questions about that? When you're done with this, so when you're done making your brand guide in Canva and you're like, oh, this looks good, you're gonna go to the download button in the top right here. And I wanna make sure you download it as either a PNG or a PDF. I would prefer if you downloaded it as a PDF, just because it will be high quality, and that's the best way to export a final brand guide. So just go ahead and download it as a PDF, and it should download onto your Chromebook. If it doesn't, then you should be able to just hit share and get a link right here and send that to me. Either way will work as long as I can see it. Okay, let me look at the chat again. Do we have class tomorrow? No, but on Wednesdays, what I typically do is I'm available all day for you. So if you wanted to hop onto Canvas or Zoom and chat with me, we do. Oh, we don't have school Friday. Oh, that's right. Sorry, you guys, I'm a dummy. I totally forgot that we don't have school on Friday. I don't know how I didn't know that. I'm in my own little world here. So yes, we do have class tomorrow. I don't know why. Anyway, yes, but tomorrow will mostly be a work day. So I'm only gonna check in with you and see if you need any help with this. So yes, check in tomorrow, but it won't be a long Zoom because I want you to have time to work on this and ask me questions if you need it. So yeah, thanks Jane for catching that. That would have been bad. Yeah, so no school on Friday. How do we make the page bigger on Canva? Let me look. So if you're working in Canva and you want it to be bigger, because you're like, oh, that's way too small, you can go down here where the zoom is, the percentage, and you can do fill, and it will fill the page for you. Hopefully that answered your question. Oh, the actual size of the workspace. Good question. Yeah, so let me show you. So if you want to resize this, you go up to the top left corner here, and it's going to resize in pixels. So if you want it to be, so I click resize. If you want it to be in inches, just click right here, and it will resize it in inches for you. And you can make it a standard tabloid size if you want, which is 11 by 17. Or you can make it whatever size you want, rectangle, square, whatever you want it to be, and just hit resize right there, and it'll resize it for you. Yeah, I know, the actual button that says resize, it's super easy to like not see it. Okay, so let me go back to the presentation. I don't have much more for you. I'm gonna stop sharing so that I can actually share the tab that I'm wanting to have you look at. That's so funny that I wasn't showing you the correct one. I swear, you guys, I need more coffee today. Like, my brain is not operating. Okay, let me share the screen. Oh, okay. So I just want to reiterate the things that we're going to include on our brand guide. I kind of already went over all of this stuff. Export your designs as a PNG or JPEG files. For your color palette, you can draw shapes or make shapes and fill them with the colors that you want and export them as well, or you can just do it in Canva. I would recommend just doing number 2 in Canva. Just get shapes and fill them with the colors that you want to use. And then have inspiration images that you used saved somewhere on your computer and upload them to Canva. Or you can just find more inspiration photos. If you're like, man, I don't know what kind of photos to look for, just look for photos that have the same colors that go with your color palette. And I think that would work out just fine. You can use Google Slides, Photoshop Express. We haven't played with Photoshop Express very much, but some of you did turn in some really cool work that you could technically use this for, or Canva to arrange it in a professional way on just one page. You could do 8.5 by 11. You could do 11 by 17. It's totally up to you, but those are the 2 standard sizes that I recommend. Don't spread it to multiple pages. I'd rather just have it on one page that's easy to see. Okay. A quick note, your logos are probably all on one page together. If you want to separate them out, you can just save the file to your Chromebook, then screenshot each one. Or you can just try and rearrange them on the page if you want. Just make sure you zoom in first before you screenshot so they're not super tiny. Okay, so what to include on your brand guide? Your main logo. So your main logo is going to be at the top. And then you're going to have your sub logos, which are the other logos that you created, your color palette and inspiration, the inspiration photos. So those are the 4 items. And then here are some more examples for you. Once again, you do not need to have typography on here. That's what we generally do, but for this project, I'm not making you do that. But the middle example is a really good example for what I am kind of looking for. You have your main logo at the top, and then right below you have your other logos, we call them sub or alternative logos, your color palette, and then your inspiration or mood board photos. And then over here, I just threw this one in here because I kind of liked how they arranged it. It looks really pretty. But again, it's totally up to you if you want to do it that way. Let me take a look at the chat. How many sub logos do we need? That's a good question. I would say 3 to 5. So you were supposed to, in the last part of this project, design 5 to 10 of your logos from your tight sketches. So you would have 1 main logo up top and 3 to 5 below. Hopefully that answers that. Okay. Yeah. So to turn in, export as a PDF if you can, otherwise do a PNG or JPEG and upload to the assignment that we have in Canvas. And if you have more, like if you want to include all of your sub logos, absolutely include them. You just might have to make your page a little bit bigger or make a little bit more space. But yeah, you can have more than that if you want. Okay, let me stop sharing. So on our calendar, I have the link for, let me take a look at it. I have the link for your self-logo brand guide assignment. That's what this is. And it does have the directions on it one more time, and it has the examples that I showed you. And I will make this available on the modules section of the course. I'm just going to open it so I do not forget about that. I just want to make sure I add it because some of you like to use the modules section. And self-logo brand guide, that is the last part of this. Okay, cool. Let me take a look at this chat. This is due Monday of next week. So I want you to take time on this because I know some of you are ready to do this and some of you are still finishing up your designs. So, so I made it due Monday. The self-logo design assignment is where we put the tight sketches in. Yes, yeah, so that's where you have your tight sketches and then you use the computer to draw over them and make your final computer design. I do not need to see your tight sketches. I just want to see the final computer designs. And then the other question was, so how many logos total on this Canva composition? So the one main logo at the top, and then for your sub logos, you need 3 to 5 minimum. You can have more if you want. And your name, you do not need to have your name on it, at least for grading purposes for me. But if you want to put your name on it, absolutely go ahead and do that. Because when I go to grade this in Canva or Canvas, it is already attached to your name because I'm not going to be like downloading it. I can see it right when you turn it in. Good question. Any other questions for me? If you haven't done the other parts of this assignment beforehand, I'm just going to share my desktop with you really quick. So here's the modules section of graphic design. Can you guys see that? Yeah, okay. So we're right here. We're almost done with Unit 2, Intro to the Design Process. If you haven't done these other 3 parts, don't start the brand guide yet, okay? So I just wanna make sure that you're aware of that. And the design process presentation that talks about how to do all of this is right here. So just throwing that out there one more time to complete these before you go on to the final part. And then the other question is there any way to put text on a Photoshop sketch project? I don't believe so. I haven't played around with it enough to answer for sure. But what you could do is importing it to Express works well. Ryder, did you say that you can use Photoshop Express to put text on something? Yes, okay, cool. So Jane, you are able to. That's what I thought, but I didn't want to say yes and be like, oh, no, you can't. So yeah, if you feel like you want to use Photoshop Express for this, totally. And then the other question is, what do we turn in for the self logo design? Let me share that really quick. So this part, the self logo design is your top 5 to 10 sketches. You design them. And I don't want to see the tight sketches. I want to see what you make in Illustrator Draw or Photoshop Sketch. It's your computer created final designs. That's what that is. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, so that is all I have for today. And I believe that one of you needed help with Illustrator. So if you want to stick online, I think it was Jason. Yes, perfect. So you can stay online and I'll work with you on Illustrator. Otherwise, you guys can hop off here, make sure your name is in the chat box for attendance, and I will check in with you tomorrow. All right. Bye, everyone. All right. So Jason, I am opening up Illustrator, and I'm just going to create a new project really quick so that I can show you. So is your question, is it about like centering things that are layered? Bye, Gracie.
Yeah, I just want to like center the like an object I made into the middle of the page.
Oh, into the page itself.
Yeah, so I made the shape. It's like on the it's only one shape right now, but I want to put it like right in the middle of the square.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so gotcha. Let me grab this. And hopefully, I don't know if you have the most up-to-date version of Illustrator. But in my workspace is set up probably a little bit different than yours. But it should be. Let me set up my window. Okay, so I'm gonna share my screen with you really quick. Madden, I will, if it's hard to make the tight sketches on the computer, like all you're doing is drawing essentially, then you could just do it on a white piece of paper. I'm totally fine with that. And then just take a photo of each of the designs and use that. I'm totally fine with that. You don't have to use the computer. I just thought if people wanted to do it to have color, they could. So if it's not working for you, just stick to paper. Okay, so let me share my screen with you. So what I would do is you're gonna wanna find this, which is the align. You can go up to window and go to align. Are you able to see that, Jason? I think you just got me.
What's the title called
So
on the top?
you go up to window at the very, very top.
Window.
And then go to align.
All right.
And then,
Oh, I see.
yeah, does this pop up?
Yeah.
Perfect. So what this does is this aligns your objects to the left edge of your square, the right edge, or perfectly in the center. And you can grab that and then you can click center align. And then if you want to make it perfectly in the center, you can go to distribute. Why is it not?
I think it'd be the middle one.
Yeah, there we go. So you can do horizontal align center and then vertical align center, and it will make it perfectly in the center of whatever your document is. Hopefully that helps.
Yeah, I was trying to find it by like right-clicking the object. I didn't know how to go to window or anything.
Yeah, I mean, that would make sense, right? To be able to right click it because it seems like such a typical thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what I use. Okay, did that answer the question?
Yes.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna stop sharing and then Madden, if you use the computer, we should just try to copy it and draw it. Yeah, so what I was explaining to you guys is what you can do is you can take a photo of your drawing, like say this is my Chromebook, not my computer. I can take my drawing and open up Photoshop Sketch, and that's not gonna work. And like say, here's my drawing that I wanna sketch over. I can hold it up to the camera and take a photo and then open it up into Photoshop Express and make a new layer on top of that and draw on that layer. And that video that I posted on Friday, I believe, should explain how to do that. Let me just go back to the calendar and see which day it was. Because it did have a tutorial on how to take a photo and how to make a new layer and draw on that layer. Yeah, it is right here. I'm going to pause this. So here is the link to that. And so what I would say is go ahead and watch that. And the guy who goes through it talks about how to import a photo in a Photoshop sketch and then add a new layer and draw on it. Because ultimately you're going to want to delete that photo layer so that all that's left is your sketch. But if you draw on the layer that is the photo and you try and delete it, you won't be able to. So hopefully that will make sense when you watch the tutorial. But does that answer the question? Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hop off of here. And I posted that video on Friday in the calendar. So if you have any other questions, just let me know. And then do any of you guys have any questions? Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and hop off here.